I'm Holly.
And I'm Bridget.
And this
is Girls Next Level.
Welcome back to Girls Next Level, everybody. Today we are talking about the bunny hunt episode of Girls Next Door. And before we get into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about the topic of nepotism. I wanted to call this episode Nepotism and Not Measuring Up, because we talk about, as we get into the episode, we talk about how do we think playmates should have had to audition just like everybody else, or should they have been given an advantage? Should have former girlfriends have been given an advantage? And we see later that some people didn't get that advantage, but some people we think did get the nepotism advantage. So it's interesting. And I wanted to ask you, Bridget, what do you think about nepotism in general and nepotism babies and all that stuff?
Well, for me, because I don't have any of that, I feel like it's unfair advantage, of course. But then I also see people who you would think would have that, but it hasn't necessarily benefited them. So I'm like, how much does it really weigh into things? But I think for everybody, it's just different. And I think that if we're talking about the bunny hunt, it really did weigh in for some people.
I think so too. And I agree with you on the topic of nepotism. I think it gets you maybe 50% of the way there. Like, it helps you out, but then you have to like pull your weight, or it's not going to work out unless somebody's really doing you favors. Like, I have friends who have been in the entertainment industry for years auditioning, and they're just so frustrated because they feel like nobody's being cast unless it's the son or daughter of somebody who's already famous.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly frustrating. But I can't completely hate on it either, because isn't that what we're all trying to do, is work really hard so our kids can have it a little bit easier than we did?
Yeah. And then with nepotism, like, where does it end? Like, is it because in like, I think everywhere you are, but especially in LA in the entertainment business, it's all about who you know. And so if you know people, like, you might not be the son or daughter of somebody, but if you know people who are producing or directing or, can work with this agency or that agency or whatever, then you have a leg up in a lot of things.
100%. And I know I've said this before on the pod, but I feel like even people who don't necessarily have like a lot of money or industry connections, but grew up in LA, they even have an advantage, especially back before social media, to somebody who like has to like pinch every penny to like move to LA and spend everything they have on rent and headshots and try to make it. And you have no support system there. You know what I mean?
100%. It makes a huge difference. Even just being from Northern California, trying to get to LA and trying to figure out how I was going to make that. And you have to be here. You have to be here to make it work. You really do. Unless you're already successful, then maybe you can live somewhere else and come back and forth. But to make it here from scratch, you have to be here.
100%. You have to like go to an audition at like a moment's notice sometimes.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy to come to LA on your own and have nothing.
Yeah, it's hard. And then there's also something that's very relevant to us in the show, and that's nepotism by dating. And of course, for us, I mean, we got a lot of things from dating Hef. I think we had to work for those things too. I think they weren't really just handed to us right off the bat. And I feel like the next thing we're going to talk about, that kind of plays into it, because there are things that we had to like work and train for like everybody else and put the time and effort in. But because we were dating Hef, people assume that we did not. Mm-hmm. And then they like to make certain statements like, oh, well, they didn't deserve to do that because they didn't put the work in. So the next thing I wanted to bring up, because it's very relevant to this episode and being a bunny and wearing the bunny costume, we actually recorded the rest of this episode where we get into the actual show before, and then we jumped on here to record this opener later, because as I was editing, I was looking for photos to send to Callie, who makes our social media clips that go along with this episode. And I was looking for certain pictures of women working as bunnies. And as I was searching for the photos, this article came up from just 2 years ago. And the headline was, I'd never seen it before, but the headline was, a former Playboy bunny says E's Girls Next Door show was, quote, very offensive to the iconic cocktail waitresses. And then she's quoted as saying, in the headline, "We earned those ears."
That
Yeah.
comment is so offensive to me. The title is so offensive to me.
Yeah. And before we break down the article, I just wanted to say that the silliest thing to me about this whole thing is this woman's complaining about something that she truly doesn't know about. I think she looks at the show or whatever she's seen from it or whatever pictures she's seen of us in bunny costume and assumes that we were just given a bunny costume for no reason. And that's not true. You and I were tour guides at the mansion. That's why we were given the bunny costume. Pat Lacey didn't let anyone wear a bunny costume without teaching them the basic bunny etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but we had to memorize stacks of papers worth of information about everything at the mansion. We had to conduct ourselves a certain way. We had to learn where to make the funny jokes and what was appropriate and what was not. We volunteered our time to do those tours because we loved doing them. So we definitely earned it. And she just doesn't know that. So for me, it's like a big smack my head moment for her, I feel.
Well, it is
And it's
embarrassing
just
for her,
so rude.
but it doesn't make it any less offensive.
No, I agree. And another crazy thing is I don't want to mention this woman's name because I'm not trying to start like a hate train toward her and it's not really relevant what we're talking about, what her name is. But I will say she was a bunny in the 70s and she was one of the main people in Secrets of Playboy. And that's another thing too, is I think people assume that the women of Secrets of Playboy would kind of have a bond and like be on each other's team. Nope. Not the case. And I just think it's so weird. And I'm acknowledging I'm a part of it, but I still think it's weird how much hatred is in the Playboy world from just women connected to Playboy. And that's not to say there's not pockets of really amazing friendships on all sides. But there's so many avenues of hate. Like if I were to draw a graph of like all the people who hate each other and why people that you'd think would be aligned hate each other, it's just all over the place. So I really enjoyed this woman's episodes of Secrets of Playboy. I thought she told a lot of really important stories. I thought she'd been through a lot. It seemed like the job she had as a bunny and a bunny mother, she did an amazing job at that. So I really liked her when I watched the show. I had no idea she thought I was such an embarrassment, but here we are. So let me read this article. A former Playboy bunny said E's reality show The Girls Next Door detracted from the image of the iconic cocktail waitresses.
I want to break it down like section by section because in what way? I mean, there wasn't even Playboy clubs anymore. In what way did it detract from the image of the iconic cocktail waitress?
I think maybe she feels like her and the people she worked with aren't getting the attention anymore, so it detracts. Like, I understand when somebody had this job that they feel like is a special experience and is unique to them, and you see somebody else doing it in a different way or a different version of it, you're like, oh, well, that's not how we did it in my day. I get it, but like you don't have to be hateful. You know what I mean? It reminds me of like the sour supermodels. Do you remember that whole thing from a few years back?
No.
Okay, so a few years back, there was this whole new wave of like what you might call like the modern day supermodels, like the Kendall Jenners and the Gigi and Bella Hadids and people like that. And I think it was Stephanie Seymour or somebody who was a model back in the day was asked, like, would you call those women the supermodels of today? And she said something like, no, I think I'd call them bitches of the moment. And then Kendall Jenner got pissed and fired back. And then Tyra Banks was weighing in and saying, yeah, well, when we did it, we didn't have GPS and Uber. We were like dropped off in a foreign country for a job where we didn't speak the language and had a map. And yeah, that's valid. I get it. It's different and probably, harder to make it in some ways when you didn't have social media and stuff. But that's just kind of what it reminds me of, is people getting pissy because they perceive that the next generation has it easier.
But here's the thing. The Playboy clubs did not exist anymore.
No, they closed when I was like 5 or 6. So I didn't have a chance to train as a cocktail waitress.
Right. So there was no such thing as, only in the past was there such a thing as a Playboy cocktail waitress, like the bunny cocktail waitress. So it wasn't even a thing anymore when we were getting bunny costumes and doing tours.
Yeah, bunny costumes were for us giving tours and for the playmates who are working playmate promotions. And also I want to add, not only was I a tour guide bunny and was trained for that, but I was also a dealer bunny and was trained for that. So how did I not earn it? How
Right.
did you not earn it? Like, it's just,
Right.
she doesn't know, and it's embarrassing. So this woman, they say her name, I'm going to redact that, worked at Playboy from 1972 to 1982, first as a bunny, then as a bunny mother, a manager at the Playboy clubs who was responsible for making sure that the bunny waitresses were well trained and properly attired, among other tasks. She told Insider in a recent interview that the antics of the Girls Next Door stars Holly Madison, Kendra Wilkinson, and Bridget Marquardt had a negative effect on the image of the bunnies. In whose mind?
What did we do to create a negative image?
I feel like it made the bunny costume like exciting for a new generation. And there was never an episode where the bunny costume was featured that we weren't talking about how cool it was to get a chance to wear it and how iconic and what an honor it was.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, we talk about it later in this episode. We talk about it being a big honor to be chosen as a waitress for the Playboy Club, you know?
Yeah. And also, I was going to say too, just to add to that, like, I think Girls Next Door, if anything, it brought like attention to it, more respect to it, and a whole new audience that even knows what this bunny costume is and what it means and why it's there.
100%. I feel like over the past 5 or 6 years, the bunny costume has been one of the most popular Halloween costumes. And I feel like that's because the people who are old enough to want to wear a sexy Halloween costume now were growing up with Girls Next Door. And then she says, they did not earn those ears, she said of Madison, Wilkinson, and Marquardt, who lived with Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles as his girlfriends in the early 2000s. Their behavior detracted from the Playboy bunny image. Clutch my pearls.
This woman is so bitter. So bitter.
According to her, Playboy bunnies, women who worked as cocktail waitresses in the company's members-only clubs nationwide, had to undergo rigorous training for the position, including memorize a specific call-in sequence for over 60 types of cocktails and perfecting the bunny dip, a maneuver in which a bunny leans back while bending her knees in order to elegantly serve drinks while keeping her costume in place. Well, we didn't learn that. We learned other things because our costumes were for a different purpose, but we were still held to the highest standards, I feel.
Yeah, well, basically, all that we didn't learn is the cocktail, because there was no cocktail waitressing anymore. We weren't wearing the bunny costume to be cocktail waitresses, and neither were the playmates. That was for the clubs only, which didn't exist anymore and hadn't existed for 20 years. They weren't doing that anymore. And I also wanted to say that had the course existed, I honestly would have loved to have taken it. I would have gone and taken a 2-week buddy boot camp course and loved it. Like, I totally would have. And going back to the last paragraph too, when she says their behavior detracted from the Playboy bunny image, it's like, excuse me, our behavior? Like, what? We were always professional in it. Even Kendra, who didn't want to wear it, and that's fine. She didn't wear it because she didn't want to hold up all of the bargain of wearing the bunny costume and what it meant. That's fine.
But I'm just picturing her like seeing us having fun on TV, and well, that's not what it is. If you're not like standing still like a statue, that's not what it is. I don't know.
But like you said, we were official tour guides, and we were appointed by Hef. So who is this lady to say who gets it and who doesn't? Maybe we need to say that she doesn't deserve to wear it because she didn't know how to give the tours.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing.
She didn't earn her ears.
Yeah. She was referencing the fact that Madison, Wilkinson, and Marquardt frequently dressed in the iconic bunny costume, which I don't think we did that often. I think it was really rare on the show.
Yeah.
Complete with, it's not like we were wearing it and just like rolling around in bed or something. Like, we wore it for specific reasons. Complete with ears and a fluffy tail on the Girls Next Door, despite never having worked as actual bunnies at a Playboy club because we're too young. The reality show aired on E! From 2005 to 2009 and followed the three women as they navigated their relationships with Hugh Hefner and each other while living together at the Playboy Mansion. According to her, Hefner's girlfriends didn't properly clarify their positions at the mansion and within the Playboy hierarchy as a whole. She called Madison a paid girlfriend because there's nothing a woman loves more than to call another woman a whore who got weekly allowance from Hefner and said Madison wasn't a bunny proper. Well, I have news for you, lady. I actually was. And like, what's her deal with we didn't properly clarify our positions in the mansion? All three of us were honest about we were dating Hef.
Yep.
You know, or what? We earned those ears, she told Insider of the use of the bunny costumes on the Girls Next Door. And then it says she was featured in the Secrets of Playboy.
I think
What are
we
your
did
thoughts?
plenty of clarifying why we wore the costumes and how much they meant to us and what an honor it was. So I think that this woman is offensive and I think she needs to apologize.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking about, because you were saying that we clarified every time we wore the bunny costume. The first time we wore the bunny costume on TV, it was for Operation Playmate, which is a support the troops volunteer thing that I ran. I didn't invent it, but I ran it at the time I was there, and you guys all participated and volunteered your time. I mean, I know it's her being ignorant. She just doesn't know. She's probably seen like 2 clips of Girls Next Door and been like, oh, what are they doing? But how embarrassing for her.
It really is.
It really is. So should we get into the episode on that note?
Yeah, we can get into it now. Okay, so this is for all you cat mommies and cat daddies out there. Are you guys as obsessed with your cats as I am? Admit it. I bet if I were to look at your camera roll, there'd be like 90% of the pictures in there would be all of your kitties. I know mine is. And of course, we want to give our kitties the very, very best, and that includes keeping their litter box extra clean. And I was wondering, have you guys heard of the litter robot? I believe the litter robot just might be the solution to all your litter box problems. Could you imagine never scooping again with the litter robot? Litter robot's self-cleaning technology automatically cleans after every use, so your cats will always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business, and your friends won't think your house smells like a litter box. And get this, Litter Robot will send a notification to your phone when it needs to be emptied. It even gives you data and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. It doesn't get any easier than this, and your cat will thank you. Join over 1 million happy pets and pet parents who've upgraded to Litter Robot. So, what are you waiting for?
As a special offer to listeners of the show, go to stopscooping.com/nextlevel and enter promo code NEXTLEVEL to save an extra $50 on any Litter Robot bundle. That's an extra $50 off any Litter Robot bundle at stopscooping.com/nextlevel and enter promo code NEXTLEVEL at checkout. Stopscooping.com/nextlevel and enter promo code NEXTLEVEL. Welcome back to Girls Next Level.
Woo!
We are back talking about another episode. This is Girls Next Door, Season 2, Episode 14. This one's called Rabbit Season. And
is it Episode 14? I have Episode 13 down. Did I write it wrong?
I think it's 14. At least that's what I looked up yesterday.
Oh.
But, you know,
Doesn't matter.
We are somewhere. We're somewhere in the ether. So we have a lot of different feelings about this episode. It's a love-hate relationship.
It's interesting because you were talking about really liking this episode, it being one of your top ones, and I was thinking, I kind of hate this episode.
There's a lot to dislike about it. There's things that I cringe watching this episode. There's things I feel really bad about watching this episode. But I like me in it. I think that's why I like it. Like, for me, this ranks as like my top 3 favorite this season. Like, it goes Dog Birthday Party, Girls Will Be Ghouls, and this one. But it's only because I like me in it. Like, that's the only thing.
Okay.
So this episode...
Wait, we have to go in the grotto time machine.
That's what we're doing.
Oh, I thought you were getting right into it.
No, thanks for reminding me, though, because I think I've forgotten to call it the grotto time machine.
Oh, yes.
So anyway... So getting back into the Grotto Time Machine, this episode first aired on November 5th, 2006. The top song at the time was called My Love by Justin Timberlake and T.I. The top movie at the time was Borat. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
All I can think of when I think of Borat is when he's... Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yes.
Are you serious?
The like one-piece bathing suit thing, getting on top of him naked with his like balls in his face.
No, that's the part I think of is when he's staying at somebody's house and he poops in a bag and then he comes out and hands the bag of floating turds to somebody at the dinner table. Oh my God, I just want to Barf.
No, I thought it was going to be the scene where he like spreads his butt on someone's face.
I think that's the most famous scene. Do you remember when like didn't Jenny McCarthy and Jim Carrey wear that, or was it John Mayer? They wore that bathing suit.
I don't know, but I feel like they put Kendra and I in something similar to it for I'm just kidding. Kendra and I did a photo shoot like right after we were out of the house, and they put us in these like neon outfits. I felt like we're very Borat. Like I was like, these are weird.
That's so funny.
But we watched that movie at the mansion.
We did,
and I remember everybody was just like it was loud in the theater. Like people were rolling and freaking out over that movie.
And do we remember, like, how much of Borat was real? Wasn't Borat kind of like a prank movie where they would film that stuff and people were being pranked? Or was it all scripted? Do we know?
I don't know how much was scripted versus actual prank, but I think a lot of people did not, like, know they were being filmed or being part of it. I think. Because I heard that some people like sued afterwards, and
yeah, I think I remember hearing that.
And wasn't like Pamela Anderson like really upset over the scene?
I don't know, because I kind of thought she was in it and knew, because wasn't there a scene where he goes to like a book signing of hers and she like runs from him?
Yeah.
I thought she was in on that. I don't know. I think there was some drama where she went to the screening with a boyfriend, and the boyfriend didn't know anything about the movie, and because her sex tape was referenced in the movie, the boyfriend like freaked out on her.
Oh.
That's what I heard in the tabloids. I don't know if that's true.
I know there was some drama associated with her and the movie. I don't remember exactly. I thought maybe she did not know. But doesn't he like grab her and like carry her off? So I feel like if he's going to do something like that, she's got to be in on it.
Yeah, the book signing scene seemed like she was in on it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you guys know. If you're on the YouTube or the Patreon. So this episode opens up with a flashback of me doing the bunny costume fashion show at the Palms.
Don't you think that's weird? The show, unless we are out of town, the show always starts at the mansion. It always starts with like a scene of the mansion from like outside. And Kevin told me that was very important to him, to always start at the mansion and finish with the mansion. And so when this started with a showing, it just starts abruptly too, out of nowhere. It just shows the palm sign and then you on stage in Vegas, which it makes sense because about what we're about to do. But I was like, wait, he broke the mold here.
Yeah, and the mold makes sense because it gives you a framework, because when I first turned this on, I was like, wait, am I watching the right episode?
Yeah, or did I catch it? Or did it start already?
Yeah.
Like, did I rewind it all the way? But then I was thinking too, you know what Kevin might be doing here?
What?
He's trying to plant it slowly but surely that this is our home away from home. The Palms is our home too.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's our second home.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where he was going with this.
That makes sense, because it was a jarring open. I felt like I was like, wait, what are we doing again? Even though I knew I was about to watch an episode on the bunny thing.
Yeah, but it caught me off guard for sure.
And I'm talking about what a big deal it is that the Playboy Club is coming back, and they show clips of like the Playboy Club in the Palms being filmed, and seeing the rabbit casino carpet, like that gave me flashbacks.
Me too, because I forgot about the rabbit flooring until they showed it, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot about all the bunnies on the floor.
Yeah. And we're talking about how we're having a casting call at the mansion for women who want to work at the Playboy Club. And, you know, it's 4 girls from LA, I guess, who would move to Vegas to be a bunny. And I was thinking, I wonder if that job was well paying enough for people to want to relocate. So I asked my friend Gina, who used to be the bunny mother out there, and she said that the dealers got tipped really well, the dealer bunnies, but all the bunnies had to like pool their tips, and it was divided at the end of the night. So it turned out all the bunnies made really good money. And she said there were a few local girls, but a lot of them came from all over, and there was a nationwide search. And I asked her, I go, did they live at the Palms? Which I don't know why I thought that. But she was like, no, they had to get their own place.
That would have been cool if they lived at the Palms.
I know, that would have been fun. And you're talking about this casting and how it's a good chance to find girls who are serious about being bunnies. And one thing I noticed about you in this episode is It's like in the tradition of Sweet Valley High book titles, the new Bridget. I feel
Really?
like,
Why?
because I feel like you're a little more serious in this episode. And you're not like as bubbly and soft as you usually are. You're a little more serious, and you're very much about finding like the smartest, the best, the hardest workers.
I think that I took this opportunity really seriously. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't just like, oh, for fun, we're just gonna go out there and like no,
Judge.
we're
Yeah.
actually like, helping to pick who's gonna be there. And I think that I just took it really seriously. It was an opportunity at like have a real job for a day.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like professional and serious about it.
And I think you and I were so thirsty from day one for like something of substance to do up there. Like that's why we volunteered to give the tours of the mansion and things like that. Is we were just hungry for something of substance.
Yeah, and I was always looking for something that might be an opportunity later on down the road because I always knew this wasn't forever for me. So like maybe there is a job in this later on. Like I don't think I was specifically thinking this is what I want to go do when I want to go like be the person who hires the bunnies for the casino or anything like that, but I thought it's a good resource to have. It's a possibility of a job, and I know the people that are doing it. It might as well make a good impression, and that way if it ever did come to that and be something I wanted to do, maybe the opportunity is there.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know what I mean? Like I
totally
took
makes
any of these
sense.
kinds of like job opportunities really seriously.
Yeah. And then they cut to Hef in the office as we're talking about, the Playboy Club's reopening, and we're having this casting and stuff like that. And I can see there's this mood board tucked over on the side of the couch. And it was a mood board for the Hugh Hefner suite.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was like one of those, it was like a big board, and it was by the interior designers, and it had like the real swatches and stuff. And that was the first time I'd ever seen like a real interior design mood board with like actual swatches. And I thought that was so cool. And I remember being fascinated by them. There were several of those mood boards. They were all like in a stack against the wall. And I just remember, I think part of it being so exciting was this was one of the few things that was like new in the Playboy world. Not that I don't love the retro stuff, but this was like the first new thing in a while, like since we'd been there. And it was just really exciting.
Yeah. Well, it was new, but it was a bring back kind of a retro thing, which is cool.
Yeah.
We are talking about an interview too, like that you were happy to be a part of this and stuff, but we were kind of wondering like how much input we were really going to have, or if they were just like humoring us to have us involved. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I never thought too much about it, to tell you the truth. I was more focused on wearing my bunny costume and like meeting people. But it's hard to answer that question without it being colored by the fact that we just watched this episode, because what happens at the end makes me think they didn't count our ballots at all.
Yeah, maybe it's something we should talk about at the end of it, how much we think they really. Let's save that one for the end.
Yeah, because you guys will see at the end there's like how many people are there, like at the quote unquote judges table. It's me, you, and Kendra. It's
Keith and Chris, the guy from Human Resources.
John Gray.
Oh, at the very end?
Yeah.
Oh, at the very end, it's me, you, Kendra, Hef, George Maloof, and John Gray. I think that's it. I think that other human resource people are probably just off to the side.
Yeah, so I don't know how many ballots were actually counted or who was really making the decisions, but I don't know if I almost feel like we were just put there for the show, something to do for the show.
Yeah, I have theories on it.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know what those are when we
I
get
will.
to it. You guys know I go over every episode of our old show looking for any kind of hidden agenda, any kind of sinister motive, anything that was possibly going on behind my back. But when I need a break, when I need to channel that energy into something a little less personal, I go to our favorite mobile game, June's Journey. June's Journey is an amazing murder mystery set in the glamorous 1920s. You also get to design and build your own island estate. There's all these gorgeous hidden object games to look at. It is one of my favorite things to do.
Step into the role of June Parker and search for hidden clues to uncover the mystery of her sister's murder. Engage your observation skills to quickly uncover key pieces of information that lead to chapters of mystery, danger, and romance. Where will each new chapter take you? In June's Journey, you can find hidden clues and uncover a murder mystery, solve mind-teasing mysteries of the Roaring Twenties, engage your sense of observation to find hidden clues, search for hidden objects from the parlors of New York to the sidewalks of Paris. Each chapter uncovers a collection of dazzling hidden object spectacles for you to solve. This game is about a daring young woman, June, traveling to her sister's estate to uncover scandalous family secrets. You can customize your very own luxurious estate island, let your imagination run wild when decorating your island estate, and you can collect scraps of information to fill your photo album and learn more about each character. Can you crack the case? Download June's Journey for free today on iOS and Android.
And then it cuts to old black and white footage that I know is from the 50s. But do you ever get shocked looking at older footage, like even stuff from the 90s, like old news clips of like Bill Clinton or whatever? Is it ever shocking to you how terrible the quality of the film is, and like how when they show old news clips, like how deteriorated it is? And it makes me think, did it always look like that and we just didn't realize, or has it literally deteriorated over the years and not been like remastered and restored?
Well, I think it maybe always looked like that. I think we're always evolving in technology, and it's always getting better and better and sharper and more pixels and like whatever it is. Like, I think the quality has gotten better and better.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like obviously I know this footage is from the 50s, but it's like really poor footage.
Yeah.
And it was from the 50s, and it was like from TV. And was Playboy's Penthouse, Hef's first show, was that live?
I'm not sure.
It was like the early days of television. So there's this really grainy footage. And do you think Penthouse magazine got the name from the show Playboy's Penthouse?
I've wondered that before too. I don't know.
Penthouse was such a Playboy ripoff, and that would have annoyed, I mean, I know it did annoy Hef, but that would have really annoyed me. It would have annoyed me so bad.
But I don't know if I've looked at a Penthouse. It was much more graphic, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. That was really the only difference. It was a magazine that had a centerfold, and instead of Playmates, they were called Pets. And I think they were given like key necklaces instead of bunny necklaces. It was very much a copy. It was just like more explicit.
Yeah. So they bring in a girl.
Yeah.
This is still in the old footage. They bring in a girl and she's got a trench coat on, but then they take it off to reveal the bunny costume.
Yeah, it was like the first mock-up of the bunny costume they made. And that woman was Hef's girlfriend at the time. Her name was Cynthia Maddox. And we used to hang out with her son at the mansion all the time. Yeah. He was one of our favorite people. And they're showing old Playboy Club footage. And you know what I noticed?
What?
One of the bunnies is dancing like Hef. She's doing the weird Hef dance. Because I always, as you guys know, I always talk about Hef's like weird dancing because I just don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Like you don't see people dancing like that in old movies, really. Like I just don't know. Like I've always wondered, was that something he made up? Was that, I mean, maybe it was something he made up and the bunny was copying him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I see this bunny doing this kind of dance like he does. And I'm like, maybe it was a thing.
Maybe.
I'm so confused.
So you say in an interview that the Playboy Club was in Chicago. That was the first one. And then it spread all over the world. And then they show more vintage clips of everything.
And my voice is bothering me in this episode. I feel like I have a weird accent and it's really strong.
I didn't notice.
It's the way I say A's. I'm not even doing it right. It's weird. It's like I don't like how I used to talk. It really bothers me. And then I say every Playboy Club that opened was successful, but I don't think that's true.
I was wondering if that was true. And it's weird too because you say every Playboy Club that opened was successful, but it finally closed in the 80s. Well, they weren't too successful at their closing.
Exactly. And then at some point they cut to footage of Hef making an announcement like on the closing day and goes, "Oh, if every day was as busy as this day, we'd stay open forever."
Right.
And like obviously at the time, like I was a huge cheerleader for like Playboy and Hef, so I'm going to want to say the nice things, but I almost have to think that was a line they gave me.
Yeah,
because
it could have been.
I knew back then that there were certain clubs that didn't do well. Like they tried to open a casino and club in Atlantic City, but then they couldn't even get like the gambling license. So that was like a huge like hit to the company.
Yeah. Well, maybe they were successful initially, like when they
I think
very
a lot of them were.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they went on for quite some time and they opened so many of them. Most of them were, but I I think it's not true to say every single one that opened was successful.
I wonder how many there were.
Oh, it says there were 30 clubs around the world. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a few. I remember, wasn't there one in like Wisconsin or something that had like
Lake Geneva. Yeah, it was a whole resort.
Yeah.
I feel like Lake Geneva Playboy Club comes up like more than once in the Playboy murders for some reason.
Interesting.
Like we've talked, there's a couple episodes where the reason it's covered in the Playboy murders is like maybe the perpetrator was somebody who was a bunny at that club. That was definitely one of them. But I think there's like at least two that were, the Bambi Bembenek story too. There was a bunny that worked there who was, in my opinion, framed for murder.
Wow. Well, I just remember thinking that resort looked amazing.
It did look really cool. I feel like the Jamaica one looked so cool too.
And I remember somebody reached out to me and said that it's actually the Lake Geneva one is actually still there, but it's obviously something else now, but it's still like a resort.
And it's haunted. Because remember when we did that haunted pilot, we were coming up with a list of places we wanted to go, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
So I forget what it's called now. It's called something else, but it's
I don't remember.
That same resort, like redone, and it's supposed to be haunted.
Where do you know where the other ones were? I know there was one in London.
Well, there was one in London, one in Jamaica, and they were just all over the country, like every major city. There were some in even like smaller cities, and I want to say I've heard that some of those were the ones that didn't do well.
Yeah.
It was kind of like over expanding a little bit.
And I know there was definitely one in LA because Nick's mom was a bunny.
Yeah, Century City.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like LA, New York, Miami, New Orleans, all the
usual
and then, suspects.
Cassandra worked at the Miami one.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and then in commentary, you say right in here that your sister, who at that time taught second grade, said that one of her students came up to her and told her that she wanted to be a Playboy bunny when she grows up.
That is so weird. And I wonder what would make a second grader say that. Like, was it the TV show?
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. And I feel like that's a lot like me, though. Like, I probably would have said that as a second grader. I didn't know enough to say it. Like, I had seen the magazines, but I wouldn't know enough to be like, I want to be in Playboy. I just knew I wanted to be pretty like those girls in the magazine, not necessarily that it was Playboy at that time. But if the show had been on and I was little, like, I probably would have been all about it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And in commentary, Kendra says that a lot of young girls come up to her and say that.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I still see on TikTok, like a lot of Gen Z people are like, oh, this is what I wanted to do when I watched it. Like, I thought this looked like the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because it looks fun on TV.
Yeah.
I say in voiceover, a lot of other casinos expressed interest in opening a Playboy club. And I wonder which ones. I know Hef mentioned Planet Hollywood was one of them, but...
I remember going down into the dining room one day, and there was a meeting going on with Dick Rosenzweig and like Jason Burns and Hef and whoever else. But there was a guy who was a casino owner in there. Kazakian?
Kurt Kerkorian?
Kerkorian, yes.
Oh, so that would have been MGM.
So I know he was definitely in the meeting one day.
Okay, so there were some contenders, but they picked the Palms.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a good place for it, I think.
Yeah, I feel like it was good. I mean, it's hard when you're off the strip like that.
It is, but I feel like the Palms at that point in time was very good at being like all about pop culture. Like they always had like the cool celebrities staying there.
Yeah, and I felt like it was very good about being like, everything you need is here.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to even go over to the strip.
And it felt young.
Definitely did.
So then it shows us going into Dick Rosenzweig's office, and he looks very bored. Which I feel like is not Dick. It was not Dick Rosenzweig's usual face. He was a very smiley guy.
Yeah. And
he looks very bored in there.
Well,
He's so
I don't
serious.
know how much he loved doing scenes for the show.
I think you're right. I think he wasn't like super into it. And he's like, there's a lot to be done here.
Yeah, I think he's not very comfortable or wasn't very comfortable in that kind of setting. You know what? Did you ever go back to his office very often? Because I always felt like every time I went back there, I was like, wow, so this is what it looks like back here.
Yeah, it was rare. And he had a funny little bathroom back there.
Yes!
That reminded me of the bathroom that was in the game house. And they were these tiny little half baths that were like built in the 70s or remodeled or put in the 70s. And they had all these little tiles. It reminded me of like if you imagine like a 70s swinger private jet and like what a bathroom would look like in there. So that was a fun little nook.
Yeah. So we sit down and we're all excited about being judges. And he says, you are indeed. Now, I sort of remember this, but I also got the vibe from the scene. I don't think we had a choice in this. I think we were told we were going to be judges.
Probably, and I think we were excited about it.
We were excited about it, no doubt. Like, I'm not saying we weren't, but I don't think it was like something that we asked to do.
No, it wasn't something we were like, oh my God, you're having this casting call? What if? It sounds like something I would say. It sounds like something I would come up with, but I don't think we did.
I don't think so either, because I very much got the feeling when we sat down that you're like, so I heard we're going to be judges for this thing, and we'd like more information about it. Like, we were just kind of told, you girls are going to be the judges, and then they didn't tell us anything more. So we were trying to figure out, like, what it is we're going to do.
Yeah. And then he says playmates have to try out like everyone else. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's weird?
I think that's fair.
I'm very on the fence. I feel very both ways about it.
Well, obviously, if they're already a playmate, they've already passed half the test. But I feel like, and this is what I was very strong about that whole time, the personality has to be on point. And when you're posing in the magazine, that's not necessarily that important.
No, I think you're 100% right. But I do think that Playboy knows, especially through Playboy promotions, who's good at that and who's not. And I feel like, I mean, it's great for the show that the playmates are coming to this audition. And yeah, in like a totally fair's fair world, like, of course, they should try out like everyone else. But I kind of feel like, I don't know, I think maybe if I was a playmate, I would feel like that was weird going to an audition. That would make me feel insecure maybe. Or maybe I'd feel like everybody's looking at me weird. I mean, that's more a reflection of my insecurity than anything. But I don't know, I just always liked the idea of playmates being like this, you know, untouchable thing.
Well, I think they definitely had the advantage.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
And I think they probably knew that going into it, that yes, I have to go through the same process as everybody else, but I already know these people and I have an advantage and I already made playmates, so they know I have the look, they know I have the body. So now I just have to show them that I have the personality and it's something that I want to do.
Yeah, totally. But I go so many ways with it. But I do think it's weird because like Kiana, like she's hot, she's everything. She's great personality. And they know that from Playmate promotions. Like, wouldn't you just say, okay, Kiana Chase is interested? Yeah, sure. Like, no brainer.
Yeah.
But then I go back around again. It's also great for the show that we have these Playmates showing up on this. So
yeah,
I'm all over the place with it.
And then Kiana got it. So I feel like there was no doubt that she was going to get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
I guess they want to gauge like how serious are they about this job. You know, it's going to be a real job where you have to learn to, you know, be a server or a bartender if you've never done that before. You have to learn to be a dealer if you've never done that before. Whereas Playmate promotions, it's a different skill. It's just like, how good are you at mingling and talking to people and making people feel comfortable?
Socializing.
So I guess that makes sense too, like if you want to gauge. Because if there were all these Playmates kind of throwing their hat in the ring, like, oh, I want to go. And then they realize, oh, I don't really want to be a dealer though. I want to, and then you have 50 people flaking. So yeah, I'm coming back around again. Yeah, I guess it does make sense to have the Playmates show up because then you see who's really serious about wanting to do the job.
Yeah. So you guys know that I work out every day and I'm always trying to improve my fitness and my metabolism. And you guys also know that Holly's always looking for ways to strengthen her immunity and her gut health. And we are both always looking for ways to enhance our skin and hair radiance. Well, we recently discovered an incredible product called Armra Colostrum. I've been adding Armra Colostrum to my smoothies after I get done working out, and I swear I have not been as sore as I usually get because colostrum has been shown in research to help enhance nutrient absorption, promote lean muscle building, and improve endurance while fueling cellular repair regeneration for faster recovery. So it's helping me so much. Colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life and contains all of the essential nutrients our bodies need in order to thrive. Armra Colostrum is a proprietary concentrate of bovine colostrum that harnesses over 400 living bioactive nutrients that strengthen the barriers of your body and fuel cellular health for thousands of research-backed health benefits. It strengthens immunity, ignites metabolism, fortifies gut health, activates hair growth and skin radiance, powers fitness performance and recovery, and confers powerful anti-aging benefits.
We've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/nextlevel or enter next level to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/nextlevel. I learned to be a dealer before when I know I've told you that before, but when I did the dealer for charity at the Palms. Although I feel like I would have to relearn. That was so long ago.
Yeah.
I feel like I forgot.
Are there a lot of rules?
Not a lot. It's just like dealing blackjack, but I don't remember any like special. I mean, they take their rules very seriously,
Yeah.
like the Gaming Commission, but I don't remember anything like crazy or weird. My goal is more just to be like somebody's good luck charm while they're gambling. not really getting back into it.
And then the question happens.
Oh yeah, I want to know if I can wear my bunny costume because I had this new one that I'd had made and hadn't had like occasion to wear it. And I'm talking about it in voiceover and I'm saying it's a VIP style bunny costume and I feel like I need to say what that is. The VIP bunny costume in the clubs was a costume that had trim along the leg and the bust. And that was the costume women wore when they worked in the VIP section of the club. So I had this costume made and it was hot pink and it had the black trim. And I found the fabric myself. I was excited about it because they didn't make any hot pink bunny costumes. And I'm still confused why they didn't want me to wear it to this.
Yeah, I was going back and forth in my head trying to just figure out like why it's intimidating because that's what he says. That could be intimidating. That's the next thing he says here.
I don't believe that though, because if you are wanting women to come try out for this job and you want them to be excited about it and feel like it's something special and it's more than just a customer service job, it's like a role, wouldn't you want somebody who was on a hit TV show and who's one of the hosts of the thing to be wearing the costume and looking great in it?
Well, I was thinking about it too. Like, if nobody was wearing a bunny costume, but they had a lot of playmates working this event that were all in bunny costume.
Yeah, and that made me question too, did they not want me to wear it because it looked like I'm working in a way that I wasn't? Because I always kind of wondered if Hef didn't want me wearing the bunny costume sometimes because instead of being a girlfriend, it looked like I was there to work.
Yeah.
Because definitely when somebody's in a bunny costume, they're there to work or like be surrounding Hef during an appearance or something like that. Like when Quentin Tarantino did the scene at the mansion for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of the inaccurate things about that was he had women dressed in bunny costume kind of like dancing in the party, and he would have never had women in bunny costume working a personal party. Like if a company was having a party in the backyard, they could buy a package where they would have playmates show up in bunny costume.
Yeah.
But he would never have had that like at a personal party.
Right.
It was very much considered working when you were in the bunny costume. So maybe that was part of it. But then there's the part of it where I get really inside my head and I'm like, did they just think I didn't look good? And I still to this day don't have a good gauge on whether or not I looked good or met the beauty standard back then. Because I look back at myself in pictures, not all the time. There was the short hair era that I looked pretty ratchet. But most of the time, like especially in the Girls Next Door era, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I looked really good or whatever. But the way I was treated, when I think back to like the way they reacted to me, if I would say I was interested in doing certain things such as, oh, I'd love to be a playmate or I'd love to wear a bunny costume to this. I feel like the attitude I got back was very like, how do we tell this girl she's ugly? Like I felt like that was the vibe.
I know what you mean because I felt that vibe too, wanting to be in Playboy and stuff and being right there and just sort of like, you know, always like, well, there's a lot of cute blondes that want to be in Playboy. Yeah. Like I was getting that kind of story. But there's no way you didn't meet the beauty standard.
Thank you. You too.
Like there's no way. And even watching it back now, all these years later,
great in the costume.
You look amazing in the costume.
Then there's a setup scene in the office of me asking Hef what he looks for in a bunny, as if I don't know.
You're right.
But they're asking me to say that for the audience's sake. And then I hint around about wearing the bunny costume, and they do my favorite gag where they pause and zoom in on Hef's face and go doo 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 doo.
Yeah.
And like I knew that for whatever reason he was resistant to me wearing the bunny costume, but I also knew it wasn't the biggest deal if I was going to do it for the cameras. Like it wasn't something I was going to get in trouble for, so I felt like it was fun to kind of like poke at that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like this episode is I feel like it gave me a chance to have fun with something and have a little sense of humor about something. And it was one of the rare times that me and the show were on the same page and that we're both doing it, you know?
Yeah. And Hef says what we're looking for is nice, fresh, outgoing personalities, attractive. But the personality is very important too, he says.
And then when I'm talking about the bunny costume, he says a little quip. He goes, well, you should wear it tonight and we'll have a really swell time.
Yeah.
But can you think of a more difficult outfit to fuck in?
No, it's impossible.
I mean, just getting out of it. I mean, you can't slide it to the side either.
No way.
It's just so stiff and so tight.
Well, and you have to wear 2 pairs of nylons with it.
Yes!
Everybody does, not just us. You have to wear 2 pairs of nylons.
And it's not something you could rip off or, I mean, it's just...
Oh, you need help getting in them and help getting out of them.
Yeah. Which leads me to the next very serious question. Is the bunny costume sexy?
I mean, it is because it's been played that way for so long. So I think it is now just because it's been played that way for so long. But was it originally?
Oh, originally it definitely was. Like, Hef used to tell stories about how there would be different clubs where they would have to, like, they couldn't have the bunny costume be as high cut on the hip or as narrow in the crotch.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Boston Playboy Club had to have like a conservative version. And so I know back then it was very sexy because it was so skimpy. You just didn't see women walking around in things that looked like that or things that were like, you might see a woman in a bathing suit, but you didn't see the combo of like something that's the size of a bathing suit but is corseted and makes it like basically like walking around in lingerie. You didn't see that back then.
Right.
And the bunny costumes, when I think about what that must have felt like for a woman to wear it back then, they're so narrow in the crotch. Even though you're wearing 2 pairs of pantyhose, that must have felt like a lot.
Yeah.
And now now I look at it, I think of just something as like iconic and pop culture and very cute. And yeah, it makes your body look great, so it's sexy in that way, but it's not sexy in a, oh, I can picture rolling around in the hay with that girl.
Oh, yeah,
no,
not that.
It's not soft. Like, it's so structured.
Yeah.
But I guess along the lines of like a Vegas cocktail outfit, it doesn't really stand out.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because every Vegas cocktail girl outfit is kind of like that size.
Right.
It's not as polished looking or as iconic or as cute.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's so iconic.
Yeah.
Like, it's been around forever. People know what it is when they see it. People try to replicate it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubting the Playboy bunny costume.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
And then so you're still, trying to let you wear the bunny costume, and he says that he doesn't think you should because you're going to be a judge. And you said, well, I think the Playboy bunny would be the best Playboy bunny judge. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's official. Mm-hmm. Maybe he felt like it would be weird if I was wearing it and you guys weren't.
I mean, technically, wouldn't we have the option to wear it too? Like, if you were going to wear it, we could also wear our bunny costumes.
I don't know.
And obviously we know Kendra doesn't want to, but like if she really wanted to, she could have borrowed one and worn it. So I don't feel like that would have been weird.
Yeah. So then it cuts to us in the dining room, and we are waiting to be briefed on what we need to do as judges. And a woman named Karen from Human Resources, right, comes in. Was she from Playboy or the Palms? Or
I think
where?
she's the Palms.
Okay.
Human Resources.
So she comes in and introduces herself to us and sits down and tells us what we will be looking for. And then she goes, and we're looking for willingness to relocate to Vegas. And I go, oh my God, this is more hardcore than I thought. But I must have been reacting to something else.
Yeah, you are, because she sat us down, and I'm not kidding you guys. It was like super professional, like what we had to look for and what we were judging on, what we weren't judging on. And like, it was very much like a human resources type of meeting. Like, it was official, like a real job thing. It wasn't just like, just see, who's cute, who's fun, like whatever. It wasn't just like that. It was very, very, there was strict standards and guidelines and things you could ask and things you could not ask, and the whole human resources thing on it. So it was serious. And that's when she tells us that there's going to be 300 ladies coming.
That's a lot. It didn't seem like that many, but a lot of
people. Well,
we
were out there for over 4 hours.
Damn.
So
that would be kind of a fun audition to go to if you're just like a girl auditioning in LA. Oh, you get to come to the Playboy Mansion for a bunny audition.
Well, and they were taking advantage of it. There were girls on the trampoline, girls hula hooping, people in the pool. Like, everybody seemed to be enjoying it.
And then Karen says, we're looking for someone who can interact and really represent the Playboy bunny image. And then they cut to Kendra coming down in flip-flops and cutoffs, and they have this really jarring music playing. And I think what they're trying to say is, They're looking for prim and proper bunny image, and this is not the bunny image.
Yeah, I think so too.
Disruptor. You can see a boom in the shot.
I saw that too. And she says we're going to be judging them on image, appearance, their personality, oral communication skills, eye contact, body language, and like you said, the willingness to relocate to Vegas.
And then Kendra says, I'm going to grade girls on their asses. And Karen just pretends she doesn't even hear it. She's looking the other way. It was so weird. I felt like she totally froze and just ignored Kendra.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Kendra's trying to be, like, funny for the show and trying to be, like, quote unquote her. But Karen is, like, not okay.
Yeah. Well, because she is human resources,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you guys how serious they were taking it and like what you can and can't ask for and stuff. And then Kendra like doesn't give a shit. She's like, show me your ass.
And Karen probably doesn't want to like get in trouble at her work either. So she doesn't want to endorse somebody saying, yeah, and then I'm going to have them turn around and show me their ass.
Yeah.
She's just like,
Uh-huh. I'm so excited. My meal delivery from HelloFresh showed up yesterday, and I love when those arrive. It's just like the pressure is off as far as having to figure out what to cook all week, and I love it. And I don't like to spend a ton of time cooking, so you can cut down on time spent in the kitchen so you can get back to enjoying the summer sunshine thanks to HelloFresh's quick and easy recipes. Every week's menu features options that are ready in just 20 minutes or less. That's even quicker than pizza delivery. Plus, sometimes I get so tired of like trying to figure out what we're going to have every week and like doing the shopping for it and everything. Ditch the meal planning woes and dive into HelloFresh's biggest menu yet with over 50 recipes and even more market items to choose from every single week.
I just had the best meal with HelloFresh last weekend. I cooked for my kids. It was this delicious, easy to make chicken entree. The sauce felt so gourmet, but like I said, it was so easy to make. It had this amazing veggie side dish, and it also came with these pretzel bites that you warm in the oven for like 5 minutes. My son absolutely loved those. Also came with egg rolls. I just felt like the best mom because I cooked this meal and it was so easy and there were all these different components to it and my kids absolutely loved it. Also, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. I love switching between the brands, and now our listeners can enjoy both brands at a discount with us.
Go to HelloFresh.com/nextlevelapps for free appetizers for life. One appetizer item per box while subscription is active. That's free appetizers for life at HelloFresh.com/nextlevelapps. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
So I take the opportunity to go upstairs and change into my bunny costume. And I can see you in the vanity mirror because, of course, I need somebody to help me get in it. And you look so smug in the background. Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
I noticed it. Well, I feel like
so
I look really
funny.
smug before when you go, okay, I'm going to run up and change.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that lady Karen and we're like we're all in on this like silly thing. And then, yeah, then I'm in the background and zipping up the costume.
I like when you ask me who said you can't wear it, and I go, Hef, and you go, well, you're just SOL.
Yeah. I'm like, well, because if it was Dick or it was Mary or if it was just Pat Lacey or something, I'd be like, just go put it on.
Yeah.
Who cares? But when Hef said it, I was like, oh, well.
Done. And I love that they're playing like Revolutionary War marching music as I'm getting dressed.
Because you're such a rebel.
And then I have to get the tube socks to stuff my bra.
Which I was shocked. Did you always do that in the bunny costume?
Well, in the bunny costume, women who worked at the club used to joke that they had 3 tails, 1 on the back and 2 in each boob cup.
I'm trying to
because they wore those big puffy bunny tails.
I'm trying to remember if I ever stuffed it.
I mean, I don't think you had to. I think I was just going for like the most extreme of extreme.
Now I'm like, did I stuff it? I don't remember stuffing it.
Yeah, maybe you didn't. And I wonder if the Playmates did. I don't know, but I know it was like a running gag back in the day with women who worked at the Playboy clubs that everybody stuffed their bras.
I'm going to ask Nick's mom if she did.
Yeah, do it. And then I always see the same screen grab on Instagram of me like pushing up my boobs in this shot.
Oh.
I always see that. But I feel like this is one of my favorite looks on the whole show. I just like the hot pink bunny costume. I liked my hair that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like when they do this graphic because I say I'm rebelling because Hef doesn't want me to wear the bunny costume. And they do this silly graphic with like a History's Greatest Rebels book. And they go through and it's like all these random people and then it's me. And this was, I think, what I liked about the episode is like me and the show are having fun together. And I, honest to God, think it's the first time this has happened. Like it's almost the end of season 2 and it's the first time I feel like, okay, me and Kevin and the editors are kind of on the same wavelength here and we're kind of like playing to the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like this episode so much.
I also think it's because you're giving them a little something. Like you are rebelling a little bit and they have something to really go on.
Yeah.
Like this is so out of character for Holly. We have to follow
never
it.
happened before.
Right. I also think it's interesting because you go downstairs and you go into the half bath, like the powder room in the Great Hall. And I feel like this is an area that most people on the show have barely seen.
Okay, can we, because of the half bath, the first thing I think of was, do you remember, you know how you can buy those plastic poop?
Oh my God, yes.
So somebody had one. I don't know if it was Kendra's or whose it was, but we went through a phase of like setting that places and doing pranks. And sometimes the butlers would think it was like dog poop and they'd be like, ah. And then I remember one time Kendra set it on the toilet seat of the toilet. And that half bath, if you guys don't know, it was in the Great Hall. So that was like the bathroom most people would use if they were coming over. And it was during like a buffet movie and Kendra went and put the turd on the fake turd on the toilet. And do you remember Miss Batty? She was so sweet. She was this older woman who was a friend of Hef's. We called her Miss Batty. She walked in there and then she walks out and she just looked like she saw the horrors of war. And she didn't say anything, didn't tell anybody what she saw. I assumed she went off to look for a different bathroom, but you would have thought she just got out of the World War I trenches.
I remember.
And then, you know what else that makes me think of? Okay, I don't know if you remember this, but I sent you a TikTok.
Yes, I remember.
Who was this woman?
So remember how, I think it might have been on our Patreon, but we were talking about the the company that brought over like face stuff and everything, and they brought over the eyelash growth serum for me.
Yeah.
She was part of them.
Oh, cool. So she came over and dropped something off. And wait, didn't she say she used to do your facials?
Yeah, well, we had a whole like meeting in my bedroom, and they like did like little facials and stuff for my sister and I, and gave us like the eyelash serums and all this kind of stuff.
Okay, so I can't imagine this is true. But the story she tells on her TikTok is that she went to that bathroom downstairs and she saw like a turd on the floor, a human turd. And she said she walked out and told you about it. And that you allegedly, like, I forget what she said, but it was something like you rolled your eyes and made some comment that made her think it was Hef, that he just went in there and dropped a turd. But I know that A, he would never have done that, and B, you would have never have said he did that.
No.
What do you think really happened?
He doesn't use that bathroom ever.
What do you think really happened?
One of two things. I think it was Archie pooped on the floor in there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, that's really what it was. And what I was rolling my eyes at is Archie did it again, and I had to let the butlers know.
But she thought you meant Hef did it again.
Or the other option is it was when we were playing with that fake turd, and that was what she saw. But I don't think so. I think it was Archie. But it's a funny story.
It is so funny. Oh my God. Tales from the bathroom.
Okay, so now I'm outside and I'm talking to some of the playmates. They're in their bunny costumes. And you walk out and I say, oh, ooh la la, Holly's in her pink bunny costume. And immediately Whitney, one of our PR people, comes up to you and is like, Holly, is this like one of the new bunny costumes?
I don't think she was being shady, but I think they want it to look like she's being shady. Like, are you sure you're supposed to be wearing this?
That's exactly. She was not being shady at all. She was just asking you because she was curious and hadn't seen that one before. And then you were like, no, it's not, but it's funny.
And then we meet Chris from the Palms.
He was so amazing.
We loved Chris.
I love his personality so much.
Yeah. And he was in HR, but didn't he kind of feel like a host when we went there? Like, we always saw him, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know. Maybe they kind of like, I don't know what his exact title was, but it does say it's HR.
And I noticed when they cut into your confessional interviews, they have you in the game house, which isn't usually your spot. Like that's usually Kendra's spot. But I noticed they tried to like Bridget it up in the background with like some pink flowers and like a pink bunny pillow.
That's funny.
This must have been in your moving around trying to find a spot phase.
It definitely was.
And then I go back upstairs to use the restroom or something or to grab my name tag.
Forgot your name tag, yeah.
And then I run into Hef and he's like touching my waist and like critiquing the outfit and saying like it isn't a good fit. And I feel like on the show this comes off as like a fat shamey thing or like him critiquing my figure. But in real life, what I remember it being was like he thought the fabric was puckering.
Yeah, I think that's what he was talking about.
Yeah. But clearly the fabric wasn't that awful because they used the rest of the fabric to make another bunny costume that Cara Monaco got. So
yeah, and you also say in commentary that Jean, the lady who makes the bunny costumes, was really freaking out when she saw this scene and was worried that she was going to be fired.
Oh no.
But I think he didn't like the back too because the zipper is not supposed to show and the flap was like kind of open where you could see the zipper. And then, yeah, he didn't like the fabric puckering. We talk about it a little bit in commentary, like what exactly he didn't like about it.
I feel like if you're just watching the episode, though, you would think it was like a body thing. Like, oh, the fit's not really good. But that wasn't what it was. It was more like he didn't like some of the technicalities about the costume.
Yeah. And you don't see any of those things on camera. So it's really hard to like be like, what the hell is he talking about? Like he's really nitpicky.
And they really weren't that noticeable in real life either. Like this was really, I said she couldn't wear this, let's find a problem kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then we talk about Hef's brother Keith because he's also judging the bunnies and he was the original person who trained the bunnies at the Playboy Club, and they cut back to old footage of him training the bunnies.
Yeah.
And later he like gives me a lesson in how to do the bunny dip, and for some reason that scene makes me really uncomfortable.
That's interesting that you say that. Because I felt I didn't even know why, and I didn't even like verbalize it in my notes or anything like that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's the weirdest thing because I always really liked Keith. Like I never thought Keith was like creepy or rude or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, something about that made me feel uncomfortable. And I don't know, I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
I think maybe he has, because Keith was like a stage actor, and I feel like he always has this almost like Shakespearean way of speaking, and there's always a little bit of drama. And then when I did the bunny dip, he was like, oh no. I feel like that kind of hit me as like being really criticized when it wasn't that way, just because he has that kind of dramatic way of saying stuff. And then when somebody walks over and it's a man and they're like touching you and bending you into shape, and I didn't think he was being pervy or anything, but it's that combo of like, oh no, let me come over and like move your body and correct it. It felt very like weird and shamey, like on camera. It was just, it felt weird.
Yeah, I felt like, and I don't think he was trying to go there this way with it, but I felt like it seemed very condescending kind of. And
yeah, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus as a creep, because I never felt that way about him, and I don't think he meant it that way, but that's how it felt when it happened, and that's how it feels watching it back. I just felt like all the wind was taken out of my sails.
I can see that. Yeah,
it was just like an odd combination of mansplaining. I think that's what it is. It's the mansplainy vibe, kind of.
Yeah.
Even though he is the one to explain it, he came up with the move, but it was just like an odd little sequence of events that felt uncomfortable.
I felt it too.
Yeah.
I definitely felt it too. Did you notice that Stacey Fuson, she's a playmate and she's working this event. I know that her bunny costume was royal blue, but for some reason in a lot of these scenes, it looks like bright purple.
I thought, what's funny about you saying that is I had to double take and be like, who is that? Oh, that's Stacey Fuson.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like she was covered in a mystical shield.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because we made such a big deal about how Sarah Underwood's costume was like the first purple one, or like one of the only purple ones ever. And then I was like, wait, there's another purple one. And so I had to like rewind it again and be like, oh no, it's just,
it's royal
I know
blue.
hers is royal blue, so it's just the way it's being picked up by camera for some reason.
And we have to correct every little thing, because there's going to be somebody out there listening who's like, you guys lied and said it was the only purple one.
Yeah.
And a purple.
And you know what I said in commentary too, which I didn't remember? This was just one of several different casting days, because I was kind of wondering, like, why are they only picking 20? Like, they have to fill a whole casino and we're only allowed to pick 20 girls.
Yeah.
I felt like there was more there that fit the bill than what we got to pick from. And I think it's because there was multiple days of casting.
At the mansion or just everywhere? Because I know they did like a nationwide search.
I don't specify. I just say that
Okay.
it's not the only day of casting. Like,
Yeah. And then Miyu and Kendra are the judges with Keith and Chris, and they cut us so that we're all looking for very different things, even though I think we all kind of know to look for all this stuff. Like for me, it's only about looks. For you, you're like, I'm not looking for looks. I'm looking for, and it's everything like personality, work ethic, things like that. And Kendra's just like, I want to see ass.
yeah.
And then some of the girls that come up to us are so cute and funny. And I love the girl who goes, how long have I wanted to be a bunny? Oh my goodness, forever. I thought she
know.
was so cute. And the way she said that is so like drag queen coded. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's just like so cute and funny.
Yeah.
And then they do a funny cut where you say something about personality and the girl goes, oh, I have multiple personalities. And they cut to you making a face like, which is not real. This is
Yeah,
like the
and
edit,
just
but-
so you guys know, like, they put like reactions where it's not how we really reacted to that person or their question. They put like us talking about things that weren't really about the person that was right in front of us, and when people weren't around, like, so it's all edited out of context to try and be funny.
Yeah, it's a
and-
jumble.
Yeah.
But it seems like the three of us, everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's getting along. Like it seems like
Yeah.
a good day.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then Kiana, the playmate, shows up. We love Kiana. And she must have ended up working there, right?
No.
Oh, she didn't?
She didn't. She said that she didn't want to move to Vegas after all.
Which is, I guess, why they have the playmates trying out.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it does seem like if those were your options, like, would you rather be a dealer and make good tips in Vegas, or would you rather work playmate promotions and, like, audition or something? It doesn't seem like one is, like, the vastly better opportunity.
Right.
And then we have Crystal Camden, Hef's former girlfriend.
I know. Yes.
Comes up because she's trying out.
And of course, I really want her to get it. So, like, I say, I'm going to seal hers. He said, Chris says, give it a kiss.
Yeah.
So we know it's your seal of approval. So I'm like, 100%, she's got it. So in commentary, I say that the fans were so pissed, like on MySpace, that Crystal didn't get it.
Well, I'm pissed too. So did Crystal like confide in you about wanting to do the job and like what it meant to her, and was she excited to move potentially?
I did not want her to go. I knew she was
Yeah.
going to do the audition, of course, and I think she definitely would have moved and everything. But of course, I'm being selfish and I don't want her to go. I want her
Yeah.
to stay at the mansion. But that being said, I'm not going to prevent her from getting
Yeah.
it. So I, kiss it, give it my 100% seal of approval. Like, this one's got to move on to the next level. Unfortunately, it didn't work for her. She didn't get chosen. And she's definitely very upset.
Yeah.
Because we'll get into it later, but she comes to my room after the whole contest and she's visibly upset. We say that on MySpace the fans were like so pissed that she didn't get it, and we were
Yeah.
telling them, write into the Palms and tell them you want her.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, next week we'll definitely get into why we think she didn't get it, or
Yeah,
the surprise.
you say in commentary that you think it's that maybe the Palms didn't pick her because they thought Hef still wanted her around and they weren't clear of what the situation was.
Yeah, I don't buy that though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's what it was, because I think Hef could have easily have said, oh, she'd be great.
Yeah, and I don't think the Palms is like aware of who was very recently a girlfriend or who's living across the street. Like, they don't fucking know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to the Playboy Club much after you left the mansion? Because it's crazy to think that, yeah, that was our home away from home. But how many times did we actually go there with Hef? A handful. Because
Yeah.
we would only really go out there for like his birthday or like the grand opening. Did you ever go there or spend much time there like after you left?
I did at the beginning because I would get hired to host events there still. So I was definitely back there for that. I know I went back. They did the next Playmate of the Year party there, which is weird. They moved that to Vegas too.
Yeah, I didn't go to the Playboy Club, like I would spend a lot of time at the Palms, but I didn't go to the Playboy Club too many times. There was that one time I was a dealer, and there were a couple times I went there for like nights out or whatever. It was interesting because it was like what the Playboy Club actually was it was a boutique nightclub with gambling inside of it. So it wasn't like Moon or, Rain or one of their bigger nightclubs. And I felt like when I went there, it seemed like a very older Midwest crowd. Like people who remembered the Playboy clubs from back in the day maybe were going. Like I don't think Girls Next Door fans were even old enough to go to clubs at that time. So it was interesting. I don't think it was like the amazing fit. Like I think having the Playboy brand there was probably interesting, but
Yeah.
I would be surprised if the club itself was seen as like a smashing success.
Oh, you know what else you talk about in commentary is how you were excited because the new Playboy bobblehead was about to come out.
Oh yeah, we did a bobblehead that was kind of like, if you're watching the video, this bobblehead, Bridget has hers behind her too, but it was my head but in a bunny costume. It was very cute. I love the bobbleheads.
Yeah, they're so
Somebody
cute.
asked me in an interview, they're like, what are the most cringe pieces of like merch you've been involved with? And they put examples, and one of them was bobbleheads. I'm like, I fucking love the bobbleheads.
Yeah. Were they trying to say that was cringe?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Guess what I did pick as our most cringe merch?
What?
The boy short underwear that had the slogans on the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I felt like, first of all, it was a weird fit, like the boy short underwear. Like I would have never actually wore those.
Right.
And then they were some of the first merch that ever came out, and we had no say. Like you'd think if somebody was putting your actual real name and a slogan that's supposed to describe you on a pair of underwear, you'd have to approve that. Nope. It was just like, hey girls, throw these on. Let's model them for the Playboy catalog. And it was weird because like the colors were weird. Like they weren't our colors. Like mine were pink when yours should have been pink. What it should have been was Kendra should have been blue, mine should have been red, and yours should have been pink. But the colors were all mixed up. And then it's like the slogans, which is like always kind of annoying because it's like, oh, Kendra can be the only wild one and you can be the only beauty and brains. And then I was the sweet one, but I felt like I was always like resting bitch face, like portrayed as being jealous on the show. So I don't know where the sweet one comes from.
That was also me, too.
I saw some weird hater comment on our Girls Next Door Instagram the other day where this girl wrote a really long comment about how she was a big fan of the show. She loves you. She was a fan of me on the show, but she's not a fan of me on the podcast because I drop too many F-bombs. And I always talk about my resting bitch face. And I need to stop cursing. So I wrote, fuck no.
Yes. I love it.
Do you still have your key necklace from the Playboy Club that George Maloof gave us?
I do.
We got these key necklaces with diamonds in them. They're very cute.
I think we're going to get that on an upcoming episode.
Oh.
I think. Because I think he gives it to us the night the club opens. And we go to that club opening. So I'm assuming the show films it.
Yeah.
I'll have to try and remember to wear it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's going to be a tough one. But I'm going to try to remember.
Okay, so we will see you guys next week. We'll cover the rest of this episode. We're going to talk about judging and being judged. And if you would like more content, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
For more content, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel.